These are this afternoon's top stories. The Sugar Boys take on El Salvador tonight at Warner Park. Guyana's opposition boycotts opening of Parliament, and Tibetans protest Beijing Winter Olympics bid. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Thursday, June 11th, 2015. I am JD Keynes. In national developments, tonight's the night. The St. Kitts and Nevis football team, also known as the Sugar Boys, will take on a team from El Salvador in a highly anticipated World Cup qualifying match at Warner Park. On Wednesday, during a press conference at Football House on Lozac Road, sports enthusiast Valentine Val Henry encouraged residents of both St. Kitts and Nevis to support the local team by attending the game.
And we want to encourage all of the football fans in St. Kitts and Nevis to be part of this great excitement. It is the first time that our country, St. Kitts and Nevis, will be participating and competing against El Salvador.
Tonight's game will be played at the Warner Park Football Stadium at 8. ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM will offer live coverage. The Manufacturers Division of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce held its second quarterly luncheon on Wednesday at the Ocean Terrace Inn. Skellex Chief Executive Officer Cartwright Farrell was the featured speaker. He strongly recommended that geothermal energy be considered as a form of generating power in the Federation.
We keep our eyes fixed on things like geothermal. We believe that geothermal is base load, it can be cheaper, and it is something that we should all try to make sure gets developed.
The Eastern Caribbean Institute of Banking and Financial Services is continuing to assist young persons find employment, particularly in the financial services sector. This week, we spoke with the ECIB's Chief Executive Officer, Analdo Bailey, who gave an overview of the Young Employee Socialization YES workshop.
The YES program is intended for young persons, but those who might not even be so young. Okay. Primarily, it is to bring such persons together where they would now focus on employability fundamentals. Okay. And so it is intended to help persons who are seeking employment to enhance their knowledge of what employers would be looking for, okay, as well as the competencies and attitude that employers would certainly applaud.
Last year's most outstanding participant, Kerris Williams, said the program prepared her for a new job. She therefore encouraged other job seekers to register for the program. This year's cycle will be held at the Chamber of Industry and Commerce on Fort Lance from June 22nd to July 2nd. Registration ends on June 15th. Regionally, St. Lucia's Minister of Housing, Senator Stanley Felix, is calling on all clients at various housing schemes to pay their rent. Speaking outside the recent Senate meeting, Felix said new tenants are already beginning to display the delinquent habits of some long-standing clients, with some owing as much as $60,000. Jade Brown reports.
Minister for Housing and Urban Renewal, Senator Stanley Felix, is appealing to new residents of the NDC-backed housing developments in Moshi, Marigot, and the Castries Development Corporation. The minister says in some cases, there are tenants who are up to $60,000 in arrears to the authorities. He is exhorting the tenants, particularly those in the newly constructed homes, to be prudent in the payment of their rent.
A lot of people have been written to asking them to pay up. How are we supposed to provide the type of service that they need? Not want, they need. When you don't pay the money, you don't pay your rent. It is that same money that goes into upgrading and sustaining and keeping the company, keeping the buildings in a state of good repair.
The minister's call comes after the Moshi housing project clients complained of cracks in the newly constructed houses. According to reports, tenants feel their concerns have been ignored. Senator Felix dismisses these assertions. Although he conceded the existence of cracked infrastructure, he says other teething issues are to blame for the delayed response.
It is not a major problem that requires a major assault. It is not an issue with all of the houses. There are people who complain that yes, I have a crack in my house. It's not unusual. We deal with it. So it's not something that requires some major scheduling. You deal with it as the need arises.
The minister says clients should desist from nitpicking at faults in the housing scheme.
I don't think we've ever done anything in St. Lucia where people have not complained. They will complain. When you get in land that's worth $15 a square foot for $3 and you're still complaining, then you have a problem.
Senator Felix says his ministry will do its utmost to address the tenants' concerns with the various issues at the Moshi housing development. Jade Brown, HTS News Force.
Guyana's opposition party, the People's Progressive Party PPP, did not attend the opening of Parliament sitting on Wednesday. The party has also failed to present its list of members to the Clerk of the National Assembly. The PPP was, however, seen protesting at the Guyana Elections Commission. Royston Drakes reports.
People's Progressive Party boycotted the opening of Parliament and was back on the streets protesting the outcome of the May 11 polls. The opposition party is continuing its quest for a recount of the ballots and for the chairman of GCOM to step down.
Because we've decided not to go to Parliament to continue our campaign for a recount and for Source Body to go. And this is our priority right now. This is part of our extra parliamentary struggle. So at the appropriate time when we go back to Parliament, we'll be doing both parliamentary and extra parliamentary work.
The international, regional and local observer missions all have declared the elections credible, free and fair, but the PPP is crying foul.
This is part of our continued protestation and demonstration against an elections that were filled with irregularities and rigged under the very watchful eye of Steve Sturridge-Bally, chairman of the commission. We will continue our agitation. We called for several recounts, and if those recounts were held, then the PPP would have been in government.
The PPP's move was not welcomed by all its comrades, with former Member of Parliament Dr. Vidya Prasad is quoted in the press saying that the party needs to go to Parliament and represent the people's interests. Those sentiments were also echoed by candidate Clinton Orlin. Orlin had earlier ruffled the feathers of the party when he called on former President Barra Jagdeo to take a back seat and allow the party to move forward.
We've always had people in our ranks who feel otherwise. The problem, however, is expressing those views publicly. We would have preferred for those views to be expressed internally because there are appropriate forums for those views to be expressed. And while we have no problem with the views being expressed, what we have a difficulty with is the forum with which those views were expressed.
There is no clear indication when and if the party plans to attend Parliament. Reporting for Capital News.
Internationally, Tibetan activists in Switzerland are protesting over Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics bid. Claire Muse reports.
A small group of young Tibetans have fiercely shown their opposition to Beijing's efforts to host the 2022 Winter Olympics. The activists gathered outside a hotel in the Swiss city of Lausanne to protest. The group from the Tibetan Youth Association in Europe stood directly outside, holding banners and chanting and singing. With them, a Tibetan monk who fled China in 2008 after being jailed and tortured for the making of a documentary on the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing.
This man here that you see in front of you, he was tortured and he was arrested like other Tibetans during the Olympic Games in 2008. The IOC, the president of the IOC, have to take responsibility for the Tibetan people's plight. We are also citizens of this world and we also deserve equal rights. There are no human rights in Tibet. There are no human rights in China.
One of the activists did manage to get into the room where Beijing was presenting its bid to the media, but was immediately removed. Another who got into the hotel lobby at the same time was taken away by Swiss police. Beijing is competing with the Kazakh city of Almaty to host the 2022 Games. The International Olympic Committee will unveil the winning bid at the end of July.
The U.S. House Republicans voted yesterday to repeal a law requiring country of origin labels on packages of meat a move to avoid costly trade retaliation from Canada and Mexico. According to the Associated Press, the World Trade Organization ruled against the law last month, saying the labels that say where animals were born, raised and slaughtered are discriminatory against the two U.S. border countries, Canada and Mexico. They have said they will now ask for the WTO permission to impose billions of dollars in tariffs on U.S. goods.
The U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday voted to repeal meat labeling laws, which were widely backed by U.S. consumer groups after Canada and Mexico threatened $3 billion in trade sanctions. The House voted 300 to 131 to repeal country of origin labeling, cool rules on beef, pork, and poultry after the World Trade Organization ruled they discriminated against imported meat. The Senate must still approve the repeal. If the laws are not reversed, the U.S. faces costly retaliation from its closest trading partners, such as Canada and Mexico. Some of the biggest U.S. food and beverage companies, including PepsiCo Incorporated, Tyson Foods Incorporated, the U.S. arm of Nestle, Coca-Cola Company, Anheuser-Busch, and Kraft Foods, wrote to lawmakers this week urging them to support the repeal.
In the weather, today we can expect partly cloudy weather conditions with passing showers. Temperatures will reach a high of 86 degrees and a low of 76 degrees. Similar weather patterns are expected for the next few days. That brings us to the end of ZIZ's Midday Newscast. Join us this evening when we'll have the details to these stories and more in our major news presentation. I have been your presenter, JD Keynes. Have a great day.